Real quickly before we begin, I want to thank this video's sponsor, CarMarshal.com. CarMarshal.com can save you lots of money on buying used or new vehicles, cars, trucks, school buses. If you want to save money, I'll have a link in the description down below. I know I'm going to...
Plus, a Sacramento police officer takes down a man who appears to simply be jaywalking.
Somebody slammed him on the ground and just kept punching him.
We sit down with the man at the center of it all and the woman who captured it on her cell phone.
Tonight, that officer caught on the video is on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sam Shane.
And I'm Adrienne Moore. Police confirm the officer stopped a suspect for illegally crossing at the intersection of Cypress Street and Grand Avenue in North Sacramento. CBS 13's Elisa Becerra joins us live there from this scene. Elisa?
That's right. This all comes down to excessive force. The question of whether this officer used excessive force in this case, and everyone we spoke with today about all of this, including the police department, said the video tells the story. So take a look.
And I said, sir, why are you doing that? He wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't stop.
Naomi Monti captured video now seen around the country.
Listen!
Of 24-year-old Nandi Kane Jr. being thrown down to the ground and repeatedly punched by a Sacramento police officer. She and her friend Alexis were driving home with several children in the car at the time.
She was still driving the car. She pulled over. I got out. I caught it in time. He grabbed her by the neck. Body slammed him on the ground and just kept punching him. Wait!
According to police, Kane was initially stopped for unlawfully crossing the street on Cypress and Grand in Del Paso Heights just after 5 p.m. Monday night. Both Naomi and Alexis say they are traumatized by what they saw.
That man could have killed that man.
Yeah, I have that feeling. If we did not turn down that street, he would have shot him.
A feeling echoed by Nandi Kane Jr.
I thought I was going to be like the next Trayvon Martin.
Kane says he was walking home from work when the officer confronted him. He was told to drop to his knees, but refused.
Drop your weapon, take your hand out of your pockets, and drop your weapon. So, as a form of defense, I took off my jacket to let him know that I am unarmed.
That's when he says he was thrown to the ground and beaten. But police say Kane became combative.
Turned towards the officer, removed his jacket, and appeared to challenge the officer to fight.
The officer involved has been put on administrative leave as the incident is being investigated.
The video speaks for itself. Obviously, we're concerned with the incident, and that's why we've taken a proactive step.
Why you beating him like that?
The video taken by Naomi Monti.
The video tells itself he did not resist nothing. He was humbled. All he wanted to do was go home.
And again, Mr. Kane was taken into custody. No charges were formally filed against him, and as of now, there are no charges filed against him or the officer. All of this pending the investigation by the police department.
Elisa, it was my understanding that the police department was to release this dash cam video that they recorded to us before 5 o'clock, and we have not yet received that. Is there any word on when we might see that video?
No word yet. They said that they were going to try to release it before 5 o'clock. Again, they said this was in their effort to be as transparent as possible. But certainly, we would like to see that video and see what perspective, if there's any difference in the video that we saw that was taken by Naomi.
Well, transparent being the operative word here. So we'll see what we get. Thanks very much, Elisa. We look forward to seeing that videotape. Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg issued this statement saying, in part, I find the actions of this officer extremely disturbing, and they are not representative of the training nor the expectations we have for our police department. I also anticipate a swift and thorough investigation from our police, or our Office of Public Safety, I should say, and Accountability, and will be in contact with community leaders as this process unfolds.
Taxpayers pay $550,000 after cop savagely beat man on video for improperly crossing the road. Instead of holding the officer accountable who brutally beat an innocent man that he wrongly accused of jaywalking, the taxpayers of Sacramento were forced to shell out $550,000. By Matt Agarist, April 7, 2018. Del Paso Heights, A dashcam video of an incident the Free Thought Project reported last year showed just how far police are willing to go to extort people for jaywalking or alleged jaywalking. It also shows how some cops react when their manhood is brought into question by those they are trying to extort. And, as TFTP predicted, the taxpayers of Sacramento were held liable, not the cop who attacked Nandi Cain Jr. According to the Sacramento Bee, Cain's attorney, John Burris, confirmed that his client has agreed to settle his federal civil rights claim for a series of changes in police procedures and a $550,000 payment under a deal approved by the Sacramento City Council earlier this month. Burris said Cain was quite pleased that we did something more than just get money for him. He likes the idea that the case itself, as he would say, was bigger than him and something more came out of it. The good news is that Burris said that as part of the lawsuit, the department has agreed to implement some changes. As the Bee reports, the changes include a random audit process for body-worn camera footage to ensure officers' actions match their police reports, and to confirm officers are using implicit bias and procedural justice training in the field, said Burris. Basically, it's trying to monitor a police officer's conduct after you train them, said Burris. It's also about talking to people in a consistent way, both African Americans and whites, because we have seen in other areas that black officers and white officers talk to black people differently than they talk to whites. As we reported previously, Nandi Cain Jr. was crossing the street when a Sacramento police officer approached him. As seen in the video, the pair exchanged some words just before the officer charged Cain and began choking and beating him. He was then arrested. However, after he was arrested, according to the now settled federal lawsuit, the 24-year-old was also placed on psychiatric hold and taken to an isolation cell of a county jail, where the officer and other employees beat him repeatedly, stripped his clothes off and made obscene comments. Cain was then left in the cell, where he spent hours without food, medical attention, or a chance to make a phone call, the lawsuit says. According to Burris, the officer arrested Cain for being black. He shouldn't have been in psychiatric watch, Burris told the Washington Post. He shouldn't have been in the jail in the first place. During the original stop, the entire time, Cain had done nothing wrong. It is not illegal to walk away from an officer unless you are accused of a crime. When the officer said he was accusing Cain of jaywalking, Cain stopped. However, this cop couldn't contain his rage and snapped. "You were jaywalking," Officer Anthony Figueroa told Cain. "I looked both ways," Cain replied. "You're harassing me. I just got off work. You're trying to pull me over for nothing." In the video, we can hear Cain talking to the officer as he removed his jacket. As the video shows, however, Cain was just showing the officer he was unarmed, while questioning the validity of the stop and questioning his manhood by saying, "If you were a real man, you'd put down that gun and fight me." That's when Figueroa launched his assault. The actions of the involved Sacramento police officer are disturbing and does not appear to be reasonable based upon the circumstances, the agency said at the time. After repeatedly bludgeoning the man in the face for doing nothing other than questioning his manhood, this officer arrested Cain and brought him downtown. Absent from the arrest report, however, was the charge of jaywalking. This officer only charged Cain with suspicion of resisting arrest. "This is one of the most outrageous unprovoked assaults since Rodney King," Burris declared at the time. "This is particularly infuriating because Sacramento has a history of disproportionately stopping African Americans for jaywalking, and every encounter is a potential disaster for African American men. This is a prime example of what happens with race-based policing. Hopefully the reforms implemented through the lawsuit serve to put this practice to an end." As for Figueroa, he wasn't punished at all. Instead, he was reassigned to a different part of town as to prevent Cain from questioning his manhood again, thus facilitating another brutal attack.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use, And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also, too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.